The most feared man in the world died on his wedding night, not from a sword, but from a nosebleed. No enemy killed Attila the Hun. No army. No assassin's blade found him in the dark. The man who made 2 empires tremble drowned in his own blood while he slept, drunk, beside a bride he had married that same evening. Let me tell you how the Scourge of God was undone by something a child survives. For a stretch of the 5th century, one name emptied cities before he ever arrived. Mothers used it to frighten children. Emperors used it to explain their taxes. Attila. He was not born to rule the world. He was born on the cold grasslands north of the Danube, into a people the Romans barely understood, the Huns. Horse riders. Nomads. Men who seemed to grow out of the saddle. Rome had a word for everyone beyond its borders, barbarian. But even Rome, which had seen 1,000 enemies come and go, had never seen anything move like this. The Huns did not fight the way civilized armies fought. They came fast, from nowhere, and they left nothing. Their bows could kill a man before he saw the face of the one who shot him. And to a world that built walls and believed in them, that was a new kind of terror, an enemy you could not keep out. No one was even sure where they had come from. They appeared on the edge of the Roman world as if the grasslands themselves had spilled over, a people with no cities to burn in return, no capital to march on, no borders to hold hostage. You cannot besiege a nation that lives on horseback. That was the horror of it. Rome had spent centuries learning how to beat enemies who wanted the same things Rome wanted. The Huns wanted none of it. And you cannot bargain with a storm. The Christians of the West gave him a title that stuck for 1,000 years, the Scourge of God. Not a general. Not a king. A punishment. They could not imagine a man doing what Attila did for reasons of his own, so they decided he must be a whip in the hand of heaven, sent to flog a sinful world. Even his enemies mythologized him. That is how completely he had won the war for their imagination. Attila shared power, at first, with his brother Bleda. They ruled together. Then Bleda died, hunting, the records say, carefully. But everyone understood. When you rule beside Attila, you rule until Attila decides you don't. After that, there was only one king, and there were no more questions. Here is the thing about Attila that the legends get wrong. He was not a screaming madman. Those who met him, Roman diplomats, men trained to read power, described something stranger. A small, plain man. Quiet. He ate off a wooden plate while his guests ate off gold. He wore simple clothes in a tent glittering with plunder. He almost never raised his voice. He didn't need to. He had learned the oldest secret of power, that fear does more work than force ever could. A man who might do anything is more frightening than a man who is only cruel. Attila made himself unreadable. And an unreadable king is a king no one dares to test. So the most powerful empire on earth started paying him not to come. Constantinople, the eastern half of Rome, rich beyond counting, signed a treaty. Gold, every year, poured north to a man who had never taken the city, simply so he would agree not to try. And each year Attila asked for more. The tribute doubled. Then doubled again. The empire that ruled the known world had become, in effect, a frightened tenant paying a landlord it could not evict. Think about what that does to a man. Attila learned that he didn't have to win. He only had to be feared. The threat was worth more than the war. Why burn a city that will pay you to leave it standing? We are not guessing about the man. A Roman named Priscus actually sat in Attila's camp, sent as part of an embassy, and wrote down what he saw. A plot to assassinate the king was hidden inside that very delegation, and Attila knew. He let the Romans sweat. He humiliated them not with violence but with calm, feeding them lavishly while he ate nothing rich, letting them understand that he saw straight through them and simply did not care. That was the performance. The stillness was the weapon. But fear is a hunger that grows by feeding. And then came the letter that changed everything. Honoria, the sister of the Western Roman Emperor, was in trouble. Trapped in a marriage she despised, she sent Attila her ring and a plea for help. Attila chose to read it as a proposal. And as a dowry, he demanded half of the Western Roman Empire. When Rome refused, he had his reason. In 451 he poured into Gaul, modern France, with an army drawn from a dozen conquered peoples. Cities burned. And at a place called the Catalonian Plains, Roman and Hun met in one of the bloodiest battles the ancient world ever recorded. It was, at last, a check. Attila did not win. He withdrew. But a wounded predator is not a safe one. The next year he turned on Italy itself. City after city fell. The road to Rome lay open. Nothing stood between Attila and the heart of the old world. And then, he stopped. An old man came out to meet him on the plain. Not a general. A priest. Pope Leo, unarmed, walked out to the most feared man alive and spoke to him. We do not know what was said. We only know what happened next. Attila turned his army around and went home. The man no wall could stop was stopped by a conversation. And within a year, he would be stopped forever, by nothing at all. Attila took many wives. It was expected of a king. And in the year 453, he took another, a young woman named Ildiko, beautiful by every account. The wedding was everything a Hun celebration should be. Endless meat. Rivers of wine. The whole camp roaring into the night for the king who had bent the world. Attila drank. He drank the way a man drinks when he has never once, in his life, had a reason to be afraid. And late, very late, he stumbled to his bed beside his new bride and fell asleep on his back. In the night, something small went wrong. A vessel in his nose, the chroniclers say, simply gave way, a nosebleed, the kind you or I would barely notice. But he was drunk, and deeply asleep, and lying on his back. The blood had nowhere to go but down. Into his throat. Into his lungs. The most feared man alive drowned. Quietly. In his own blood. A few feet from his bride, who woke in the morning beside a dead king and did not dare to make a sound. Picture the bride. Ildiko, married that day to the most powerful man alive, waking in the gray light to find him cold and still beside her, his face and the bedding dark with dried blood. And her first thought, we can be almost certain, was not grief. It was terror. To be the woman found next to a dead Attila. She stayed silent for hours, because in his world, closeness to a king's death was a death sentence of its own. His men found him when the sun was already high. No wound. No enemy. Nothing to avenge, and no one to blame. The chroniclers wrote that the great warrior had died without a wound, and you can feel them struggling with it. It was not supposed to end like this. Men like Attila are supposed to fall in battle, gloriously, or be betrayed by someone you can hate. Not this. Not a nosebleed. They buried him in secret. His body was sealed in 3 coffins, gold, then silver, then iron. They turned a river from its course, laid him in the dry bed, and let the water flow back over him so no one would ever find the grave. And then, the story goes, they killed the men who dug it. So the secret would die with them. Here is the part that should stay with you. The empire of the Huns did not outlive its king by a generation. Attila's sons turned on each other almost before his body was cold. The tribes he had welded together by terror remembered that they had only ever obeyed one man, and that man was gone. Within a few years, the empire that had frightened the world simply came apart, and the Huns rode out of history for good. Because it was never an empire. It was a fear. And a fear needs someone to be afraid of. Attila built nothing that could stand without him, no law, no city, no idea. He built only himself, larger and larger, until the whole world flinched at his name. And that is the trap of ruling by fear. The stronger the terror, the more everything depends on the one who casts it. Attila made himself the single point that held a world together. And a single point can be broken by a single night, by too much wine and an unlucky vein. The man armies could not touch was killed by his own body, in his sleep, on the happiest night of his life. And everything he built died with him, because he had made sure that nothing could live without him. There is a strange justice in it, though no one designed it. Attila spent his life teaching the world that safety was an illusion, that no wall, no treaty, no army could truly protect you. And in the end the lesson closed over him too. The thing that killed the destroyer of nations was the one enemy he had never thought to fear, himself, asleep, unguarded, human. So here is the question worth sitting with. The things we build to make ourselves feel powerful, the walls, the reputations, the fear we put in other people, what happens to them the night we're not there to hold them up? Follow for more.